Domestic abuse can have a huge impact on children, but their responses can be varied. So some children might not respond immediately. It can have some short-term impacts and long-term impacts. What we know is that children often struggle with a whole host of relationships, including with their parent, who is the abusing parent, the parent who has been abused, even their siblings. They may be affected because they have additional responsibilities to care for younger children. But what we know is that the families that the NSPCC work with, where there is compromised parenting, we can sometimes look into their history and find out that there is often domestic abuse in their childhood. So it can affect their ability to parent their own children. We have the NSPCC helpline that any members of the public, any victims or people that are worried about domestic abuse, but also any professionals that are working in the area that want any advice, can also ring a helpline to find out about what they should do when they're worried about a child. The NSPCC has developed a number of services for families who are experiencing domestic abuse. We have one service called DART. It stands for Domestic Abuse Recovering Together. Now, I know we have some male victims of domestic abuse, but the vast majority of people we work with are women who are exposed to domestic abuse. And because they're also the mothers and usually the one that's most likely to care for the child, those groups that we have are often for mothers and their children. So it's a parallel group where we have mothers in one half of the group, children in another half, and they regularly come together talking about the same issues so that they can carry on those conversations at home. Sure. We have DART that's soon going to be operating in Bradford, and with some luck we're also going to be delivering it in other places within West Yorkshire. The NSPCC can offer all sorts of help to both perpetrators, to victims, to children, to a whole host of members of the family. But there are lots of organisations across West Yorkshire that can offer lots of really effective help. So my advice would be seek out help. Speak to anybody in the first instance, even your GP. Speak to people and seek help. That have a think about the impact that domestic abuse is having on their children. Sometimes it's very difficult for, let's say, women who are affected by domestic abuse to think about what impact it is having on the children, because clearly they're the ones that are most affected in the first instance. But it's much more difficult for them to understand how it impacts on the children. So think about how it impacts on the children and definitely seek help. There are group work services, there's counselling services, there's also women's aids and domestic abuse services across the UK. So it would be definitely seek help and think about how you can get yourself out of that situation. For perpetrators of abuse, I would also say think about your children. Think about how this might impact on your children. We've worked with a number of men particularly who have perpetrated domestic abuse, who when they've been given the chance to think about the impact their behaviour has had on the whole family, have genuinely wanted to stop and genuinely wanted to make a difference. And so my advice would be seek help about perhaps even anger management. There's also a group work service, again, that the NSPCC have developed with the London Probation Service called Caring Dads Safe for Children. Caring Dads is available in right throughout Leeds, so they have taken on the service. But definitely there is probation, there are lots of perpetrator groups, so it would definitely be seek help.